First word is esoteric. When something is esoteric, it's... All right, so the word esoteric refers to something that requires specialized knowledge. So in a conversation, somebody might use this word to say, sorry to be esoteric, and then they'll continue talking about some subject or some concept that requires a certain level of knowledge in a given field. Next word, superfluous. Superfluous just means extra, really. Can a person be superfluous? So superfluous, yeah, just refers to stuff that's maybe not necessary, or the extra just stuff or extra things in a given context. So maybe, like, oh, I have so much superfluous stuff in my kitchen. Of course, using superfluous in such a casual way like that is very unnatural, but you could do it if you really wanted to sound smart. Acquiesce. Acquiesce means to, like you might have, can I say a line from Pirates of the Caribbean? Something like, he will not acquiesce to your request, or she will not acquiesce to your request. It just means she won't obey or listen or do as told. But it's the same exact meaning, to acquiesce, to accept something, to go along with. Angst. Angst refers to just kind of this, like that unhappy feeling, this sort of angry or maybe melancholy, or just feeling like, you're misunderstood. So a teenager, or I suppose a teenager themselves might not use this word, but the parents of the teenager might say, oh, my teenager is so filled with angst. Kitsch. Kitsch refers to, in my mind anyway, just junk, honestly. It's the little things that, might crowd your house, like a snow globe or special little ornaments, or just, decorative knickknacks. You might say, oh, my aunt's apartment is really kitschy. It means she has maybe like a lot of knickknacks, or the style is just kind of... Thinking outside the box. This is a phrase that means just thinking differently, or, outside the norms of regular thinking, which would be inside the box, and then choosing to think about something in a different way might be considered outside the box. So it's usually a compliment, like, great job thinking outside the box, Stevens. The next word is the bottom line. The bottom line just refers to kind of the end-all of the situation. Like in a sentence, the bottom line is we have to make more sales next month, meaning this is the one thing that we really need to focus on. The next word is hit the ground running. It just means to start well. If you think about a runner, of course, a runner, as soon as maybe they touch the ground at a race, they are running. And it's sort of the same thing here, except in a business sense. So as soon as a project starts, they're going. They're, pushing forward on the project. You might say, next week we're going to start the new project. Let's hit the ground running, meaning to get a good start. Next word is giving 110%. It just means giving your all, or making your best effort to do something. So of course 100% is the maximum in a given situation, but giving 110% means that your boss presumably wants you to give more than your best. So it just means work really hard, as in, hey, we have that meeting coming up next month. Let's give 110% to make sure all of the materials are finished by then. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's just a phrase that often wraps up a conversation. Sometimes it can be a negative situation. Like you hear, oh, sales are down this month. Well, it is what it is, meaning there's nothing we can do, or that's just the situation right now. It's just, just a filler phrase, really. My stomach's making noise. It's curriculum vitae. Is that how you say that? Curriculum vitae. Vitae.
Curriculum vitae.
Vitae. Curriculum vitae. You might see this abbreviated as CV when you're looking for jobs. Most of the people who are looking for applicants will request your CV, or your curriculum vitae, which is really just a record of your life, your history, often your work history. You might see it written on a job form, something like, all applicants must submit their curriculum vitae to be considered for the position. But most of the time I see it as CV. In American English, though, I should point out that you might see resume instead, which is the same exact thing that's asking for your work history. Next is ad hominem. Ad hominem means to attack somebody, like when you're arguing or having a discussion, but you're not actually addressing what the other person is saying. You're just attacking that person. So you might say, he was arguing ad hominem, meaning, in other words, he was not actually debating the issue, but he was just attacking the other person in the argument. Deus ex machina is the next word. This is a fun word, especially if you like watching movies. Deus ex machina literally means God from the machinery. So anytime you're watching a movie and suddenly out of nowhere somebody comes in to save the main character, for example, that's an example of Deus ex machina. So if you're writing, for example, if you're writing a story, it's typically a good idea not to use Deus ex machina. Your teacher might say, don't use Deus ex machina in your writing because it seems kind of cheap, right? You know, your main character gets in a jam and then something amazing happens and they're saved. What's the fun in that? The next phrase rather, is magnum opus. Magnum opus just refers to usually a masterpiece or someone's life's work, a huge work. So like maybe Beethoven's magnum opus would have been his Beethoven's fifth, what was that, a symphony? Yeah, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony was perhaps his magnum opus. Hey, there's a sample sentence right there. So if you have a big project that you're working on, maybe you're an architect, maybe you're a painter, whatever it is, whatever's the biggest thing in your project portfolio, maybe you could refer to as your magnum opus. It's your great work, whatever's the biggest thing for you. The next word is alter ego. Alter ego is kind of a fun word. It means your other self. So you might have seen characters in movies that have an alter ego. In one situation, they behave like one character, but in another situation, they behave like someone else, their alter ego. Maybe even some of you have an alter ego, and it bothers your friends when you have, when you behave a certain way with one group of people and a different way with another group of people. That's your alter ego coming out. It's not always necessarily a negative thing, like superheroes have alter egos. So Clark Kent, for example, Clark Kent's alter ego is Superman. It's his other self. He is Clark Kent and he's Superman, but in different situations, he's one or the other. Zany, Z-A-N-Y. I don't need to spell it, they're going to see it on the screen. Zany just means something that's amusing or different or a little bit weird, perhaps. So you might say, my friend is so zany. She bought a New Kids on the Block lunchbox last week. Why was that the first thing that came to mind? The next word is zillion. Zillion is just a word that we use in place of a very large number. So you probably know million, billion, trillion, for example. But when you just want to emphasize that something is a huge number or there's a lot of something, you can say a zillion. For example, there were a zillion ants in my backyard last week. The next word is zoom. The word zoom actually has two meanings. The first word is on a camera, for example. You can zoom in to get closer to the subject, or you can zoom out to get further away from the subject. I think, are you going to zoom now? Zoom in. Zoom out. Okay. Zoom also is an onomatopoeia. An onomatopoeia means a word that sounds something like what it's supposed to be representing. This onomatopoeia means to go very fast. So you might say, I'm looking forward to getting in this new car. I hear it zooms. The next word is zest. Zest means to do something with great enthusiasm. Like you might say, I have a zest for life, meaning you're really interested in life and you have a lot of energy for it. Zest also has a second meaning, which is used in cooking a lot. Like you might take the zest from a lemon, meaning a little tiny particles of something and put it in your food. So those are some things. The next word is zoology. Zoology refers to the study of animals. You might have it in your university. If you're a university student, there might be a zoology department. So you might run into somebody one day who says, oh yes, my major's in zoology. What are you studying? Lager. Lager is a word that I know very well. Lager refers to a kind of beer. So when you go to a beer festival like Oktoberfest, for example, you might say, this year I'm planning to drink a lot of lager, or a lot of lager beer. It's a type of beer. The next word is wanderlust. This is a nice word. Wanderlust just means that you have a desire to travel somewhere. You want to go somewhere. You might say, oh, I've been seeing all the photos that my friends have been posting on the internet lately. It's giving me wanderlust, meaning I really want to go travel. I really want to be out there doing those things. The next word is zeppelin. Zeppelin, this is a big airship. Oh, isn't there like an Indiana Jones thing? Where he tosses a guy out of a zeppelin? It's what do we call it now? A blimp, right? Yeah. A blimp. We say blimp a lot now, but zeppelin, I think, was the first word that was used to describe these things because I think they were made out of metal. So, for example, you might know the band Led Zeppelin. That could be related to the first Zeppelin. I don't actually know. Is it? So in a sentence, you might use this to say something like, oh, someday I'd really like to take a ride on a Zeppelin. That sounds like fun. Next word is dachshund. Dachshund, you probably know what a dachshund is. We commonly call them wiener dogs in America because they're long. Sometimes they have long hair too, but they look like, a hot dog. So dachshunds, I think, are popular breeds all around the world. You might say, my friend got a new dachshund. I can't wait to play with it. Yeah. Gesundheit is the next word. Gesundheit is used often when people sneeze. So Americans like to say bless you after somebody sneezes, but you might also hear Gesundheit after someone sneezes. It's usually just used as one word. We don't really say it in a sentence very much, but when your friend sneezes or somebody you know sneezes, you can say Gesundheit. Bass, as in a type of fish, or bass, which refers to someone's voice. It's also a type of instrument. It kind of looks like a guitar. There's also a string bass that's usually a really tall instrument that you play standing up. So in a sentence, when you're fishing, you might say, oh, hey, I hope I catch a bass today. If you're a musically inclined person, you might say, my favorite instrument is the bass. Great, those were pretty good. Next is wind, as in the air, blowing air, and wind, as in like to wrap something around something else. Wind, you might say, the wind is really strong today. I should have brought my kite to the park. Okay. I don't know, every once in a while, these oddly specific sentences. Wind. Like maybe you have a ball of string at your house and it's gotten all tangled up, it's really, really messy, and you find it one day and you think to yourself, oh, I really need to wind this ball of string into a clean, like tidy ball. Next, tear, a rip in something, like you might tear a piece of paper in half. The same spelling can also make the word tear, which is that drop of water that comes out of a person's eye when they're sad, or sometimes when they're very happy. Use them both in one sentence. Whenever I tear a piece of paper, a tear comes from my eye because I feel bad for ruining trees. Or my friend made me tear up my favorite love letter and I shed many tears as a result. That one was slightly better. All right. Next is dove. Dove can be a bird. It's a white bird. It often represents peace. And it can also be pronounced dove, which is the past tense of the verb to dive. So you might say, the dove dove into... What does a dove dive into? The dove dove into oncoming traffic. The dove dove into the pond to take a bath. Next is close, meaning to be near, and the other pronunciation is close, meaning to shut, or it can also mean to end. So in a sentence, let's see if we can use them both in the same sentence. Please close the door that is close to you, because the show is coming to a close. Oh, yeah! Hyperbole. Hyperbole. It's not hyperbole, though it does sound very funny to say that. Hyperbole just means to exaggerate something, or to blow something up, make it really extreme. My friend uses a lot of hyperbole when she talks about her life stories. I really don't think some of those things happened to her. Hyperbole, not hyperbole. Next, Antarctic. Oh, I see. Antarctic is the correct pronunciation of this word. Some people say Antarctic? Really? Oh, I guess when you're saying this word quickly, you might leave out that first C in the Antarctic. So don't say that. Don't do that. Say Antarctic. The very, very cold region. The Arctic is the north cold region on the planet Earth. The south is the Antarctic. There's sort of like almost a hiccup in the word there, Antarctic. Oh, in a sentence, I'm thinking about taking a cruise to the Antarctic. What do you think I need? A penguin suit. Etc. Not etc. Oh, yeah, okay. I hear this ek thing a lot. Etc. is just used at the end of a list to imply that you mean other things. So the list is not exclusive to the things that you've listed. Other things can also be included in it. So in a sample sentence, types of fruits are apples, oranges, peaches, etc. There are others as well. So don't say etc. That's not correct. Etc. is good. The next word is jewelry. What? Not mayonnaise? The next word is jewelry. Jewelry. I think I'm probably guilty of this mispronunciation. I can't say that word. Mispronunciation. Where the word kind of gets a little bit smushed together and we say jewelry instead. We miss that second E sound in there. It should be jewelry. In a sample sentence, maybe you would say, I'm shopping for some jewelry for my mother for her birthday. Jewelry. We're too lazy. Prescription. Not prescription. Okay, a prescription is something that a doctor gives you. When you're sick and you require medicine, the doctor will write you a prescription. Some people might say prescription. Wow, okay. I didn't even notice, and I was doing it while I was telling you guys not to do it. That's embarrassing. Prescription. A doctor writes you a prescription, not a prescription. When you go to the doctor's office, the doctor might say, here is your prescription. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is an 8th grade American science school word. It's an 8th grade science word. This refers to the process that plants use to convert sunlight to oxygen. The process of photosynthesis is vitally important to the survival of humans. Right? The next word is imperturbable. Imperturbable means someone who can't really get upset or excited. Like it's hard to change the emotions of a person. So you might say, I have a friend who is imperturbable. No matter what we do or what we say, he doesn't get angry with us. Onward. The next is counterintuitive. Counterintuitive is a good word, which means it's the opposite of common sense. So we talked about the word intuitive in a previous episode of Weekly Words, where intuitive means able to sense something or able to do something correctly without having to know much about it. Counterintuitive, however, on the other hand, means not intuitive, or it seems like something that just doesn't make much sense. It's not a common sense thing. So maybe, let's see, something that doesn't seem to make very much sense to you. Maybe on your office building, for example, you have to first push the door and then pull it in order to open it. You might say, the way the doors work in this building is very counterintuitive. It doesn't make much sense. The next word is presumptuously. Presumptuously means failing to observe the limits of what is permitted or appropriate. Oh, this is a tough one to use in a sentence. So anytime somebody does something that's just beyond the limits of what is considered normal in your culture, you can say that they're being presumptuous or they're acting presumptuously. So if, for example, a salesman comes to your door for some reason, but they enter the house and sit down on your sofa, you might say, the salesman presumptuously entered my house and sat down on my sofa. I couldn't believe it. What? Sphygmomanometer? Sphygmomanometer. An instrument for measuring blood pressure. This is a new one for me, too. Sphygmomanometer is this word. Isn't this called really long words that are actually used? I have only been familiar with this word in terms of the blood pressure cuff. When you go to the doctor and they need to check your blood pressure, they'll put this thing, this sphygmomanometer, on your arm, usually, and then they'll kind of pump it up and check your blood pressure. So it's a very technical word. The doctor might say to a nurse or to another doctor, can you please get me the sphygmomanometer? We need to check this patient's blood pressure. Philtrum is the first word. Philtrum, the groove located just below the nose and above the middle of the lips. That has a word. Philtrum. That's this, I guess. In a sentence, maybe you would say, how can you use this in a sentence? Let's see, I'm thinking of getting my philtrum pierced. What do you think about that idea? It's gross. I hurt my philtrum in football practice yesterday. Who says philtrum? Next is larynx. The larynx is the voice box where your voice comes from. There's quite a definition here. The hollow muscular organ forming an air passage to the lungs and holding the vocal cords. Usually I think we just say the voice box. So I think the larynx in particular is really important for singers and people who need to use their voice a lot. And I think that there are even, special techniques that some people use to protect their larynx as well. In a sentence, maybe, I have to be careful not to damage my larynx because I need to be performing regularly. And my voice is very important to my job, for example. All right, next is navel. Navel is commonly referred to as your belly button. It's that, for some people it's indented, for some people it kind of protrudes a little bit, but the navel is just your belly button. To use it in a sentence, let's see. Oh, I'm thinking about piercing my navel. I have an example now. Maybe if you've had to have surgery on your stomach that's near your navel, the shape of it might be impacted. This happened to my mom, it's the only reason why I thought of this. When you meet with your doctor, the doctor might say, during the surgery, some of the skin near your navel might be affected by what we're going to do. Next is pinky. Your pinky is the smallest finger on either one of your hands. You can use pinky finger. Alternatively, your pinky toe, your small toe, is also referred to as your pinky. In a sentence, you might say, oh no, I broke my pinky finger. I have a piano recital in 3 days. That actually happened to me when I was little. That's not a lie. That's a real story. I broke this pinky finger. That was a good day. Anyway, next, scapula. Scapula is your shoulder blade on the back of your body. Your scapula. Yeah, what else can I say about that? Your scapula, your shoulder blade. You have 2, I think. Yes. Maybe if you're a physical therapist or if you're someone who needs to train athletes, you might need to stretch their scapula from time to time to make sure that it's healthy or in good shape. Make sure to stretch your scapula before and after every workout to make sure that you don't damage it. Anarchism. Anarchism is a belief that there should be no government, that society should just rule itself. So some groups of people might say, let anarchism reign. The next word is altruism. Altruism is the idea that everyone should just be selfless. We should always just act on behalf of other people, right? Altruism is the key to world peace. Feminism. Feminism is just advocating for women's rights, supporting women's rights, equal rights for women, and really just equal rights for people in general. I support feminism, something like that. All right, next is pacifism. Pacifism is the belief that violence is never justified. We should never use violence. Pacifism is great. Pacifism leads to peaceful cultures. The next word is sensationalism. It's all about making a news story, sensational. So even if the facts aren't necessarily true facts, we don't know all the information, the news media might kind of make things up. Sensationalism only hurts the audience because they don't know what's truly going on. Paint the town red is kind of an old-fashioned phrase, which just means to go out and have a really good time. You might have seen it in an old movie that says, come on, we're gonna go out and paint the town red tonight. Let's go. Good. To be in the red. You don't want to be in the red. To be in the red means that you owe someone money. You have debt. Our company is in the red for the last quarter. We really need to improve our sales strategy. Yeah. I don't know what this was. We really need to improve our sales strategy. This will help. Red idiom is a red flag. Red flag is a great phrase to know, I think. A sign that something is wrong. You might say, ooh, that person was acting really, really weird. That was kind of a red flag to me. If I say these things. 5 red flags for me in people. All talk, no action. Always bumming money off their friends. No ambition. No skills, or no desire to develop skills. Another one is, don't know when it's their turn to talk. I don't like that. Watch English in 3 minutes to learn more about developing these skills, these very important skills. Onward. The next is to catch someone red-handed. This is used when you catch someone doing something bad. The teacher caught the student red-handed. He was trying to steal the hamster from the school's petting zoo? I don't know. The teacher caught the student red-handed trying to steal the class pet. Caught him red-handed, right in the middle, in the act of trying to do something bad. That's the key there. The next one is red carpet treatment. Red carpet treatment, maybe you've seen this at awards shows. There's always a red carpet in front of where the famous actors and actresses and producers and film people enter. Red carpet treatment means to be treated very well, to be treated like royalty, really. You might say, oh, we got the red carpet treatment at the event last week. It was great. To be head over heels for someone. To be head over heels for somebody means that you're really interested in them. Maybe you've just met them and you can't stop thinking about them. First love, butterflies in your stomach sort of thing. That's kind of an idiom too, I suppose. He was head over heels for the girl that he met at the party the week before. We're building a story here. We're building a story here. Oh no, our story. What's going to happen next in our story? To be on the rocks. This phrase means to be having problems in your relationship. It means that you're struggling or having trouble. In a sentence, my friend told me about that girl that he met at the party last weekend, and he said they went out for a few dates. Wow, this is all happening so fast. They went out for a few dates, and now they're on the rocks. Okay. Next is to be an item. To be an item just means to be in a relationship with somebody. If you're officially in a relationship with someone, and your friends might say you're an item now. To continue our little story. Even though my friend said he was on the rocks with that girl he met at the party a few weeks ago, it seems that they are now an item. This is weird. This is really weird. The next one is to pop the question. To pop the question means to ask someone to marry you. Yeah. Remember that girl that my friend met at the party like a couple years ago? Yeah, he finally popped the question to his girlfriend. It means he asked her to marry him. The next one is to tie the knot. To tie the knot means to get married. So two people come together and tie a knot. They won't be separated, in other words. So maybe this is the end of our story. I don't know. So my friend ended up tying the knot with the girl that he met at the party a few years ago. Acrophobia, a fear of heights. If you don't like going up into tall buildings, for example, you can say, I have acrophobia. I don't like going into skyscrapers. You don't like to see things far below you. Yeah. The next word is arachnophobia. Arachnophobia means a fear of spiders. You might have seen a movie called Arachnophobia that had a lot of spiders in it, as you might be able to guess. In a sentence, you could say, will you please kill that spider for me? I don't want to go near it. I have arachnophobia. Okay. Next word is claustrophobia. Claustrophobia is a fear of small spaces. So if for whatever reason you find yourself like on a crammed train, for example, you feel really uncomfortable and you want to get off the train, that's called claustrophobia. In a sentence, you might say, I don't want to take the rush hour subway. I have claustrophobia and the commute makes me really, really nervous. Next is agoraphobia. Agoraphobia means a fear of going outside. So someone who prefers to stay inside, to stay at home more often than not, might be agoraphobic. My cousin has agoraphobia and he refuses to leave the house no matter what we say or what we do. Keep in mind that some of these words are not commonly used in conversations, but rather what they represent is fairly common, like fear of heights and so on. The fears might be very common, but the words themselves are not. Oh my. Ophidiophobia? Okay, ophidiophobia is a fear of snakes. I have ophidiophobia to an extent. Oh, I did go hiking once. I was hiking and I was actually near a Buddhist temple at the time. It was in the middle of the forest. They were doing a ritual of some kind. You could hear like in the forest. And then as I was walking up the hill, suddenly there's this snake. Like I saw it at the same time that it saw me, and the snake was like, "Oh my God, a human!" And I screamed an expletive. I was like, "Oh yeah, snake!" And it like echoed through the forest. And I was like, "Oh my God, did the Buddhist monks just hear me?" In a sentence, I was on a hike and I saw a snake and I screamed because I have ophidiophobia and they terrify me. Pretentious. Pretentious is a word that means you're trying to impress other people, or someone who tries to impress other people by making themselves seem more exciting or more important or cooler than they really are. In a sentence, you might say, my coworker is so pretentious. He's always exaggerating his stories to make himself sound important. Don't be pretentious. The next word is ubiquitous. Ubiquitous just means something that you see everywhere. Smartphones. Sorry, I'm still laughing about smartphones. It's a fern that's really smart. You can tell when you need extra oxygen. In a sentence, you might say smartphones are ubiquitous. Everybody has one now, and I have one too. Albeit. Albeit just means although. In a sentence, she was making progress, albeit rather slowly. The next word is ambiguous. Ambiguous just means something the meaning is not really very clear to you. Maybe if you're reading the newspaper, for example, and a sentence is written kind of strangely, you might say, the meaning of this is rather ambiguous. All right, love. Really? Baby, don't hurt me. Love is just that intense feeling where you really, really like somebody else. It could be your family member, it could be a partner, a romantic partner, whatever. It could be a food you really like as well. Just anytime you have that really deep, strong emotion, you can use the word love. For example, I love pizza. It's my favorite food. Jump the gun. Jump the gun means you do something too quickly or you don't think enough about something before you do it. In a business setting, maybe a subordinate makes a decision before the boss has had a chance to decide on something. You might say, Stevens, you've jumped the gun again. We can't forgive you for this one. You're fired. Okay, the next one is drop the ball. Drop the ball means you don't do something that you were supposed to do. Somebody was supposed to do something and they didn't do it. They dropped the ball. Like in basketball, right? If you have a ball, you're supposed to pass the ball to your teammate. If you drop the ball, you let everybody down. My coworker really dropped the ball when he forgot to send that email. We were all disappointed. Stevens. Okay, next, slam dunk. A slam dunk is something that you are sure is going to happen. Maybe you have a good relationship with a client, for example. You can say, yeah, the deal next week will be a slam dunk. You know that something good is going to happen. Next, covering all bases. This phrase means that you plan for as many things as you possibly can. You have some kind of plan in mind for any number of things that could go wrong, or any number of things that could happen. In a sentence, a boss might say to their subordinate, so what's your plan for the event next week?